Good day to all of us. Today we are going to unveil another discussion which is all about logical fallacies. This is um, if we'll try to analyze and embrace these fallacies, uh, this specific topic, not to embrace fallacy, but if we'll try to um, study fallacies, um, there you can have this, well, what we call this addendum of knowledge. So this is very important, especially yung pagtutukoy ng katotohanan. Okay? So yun naman ay actually these fallacies, we are experiencing this day in and day out. But to for us to have these ideas na ito pala yung tamang paraan, ito pala yung tamang approach to avoid fallacy. So this day we are going to discuss that. Okay? But again, um, like what we did in every discussion, we should know first our learning targets. So hopefully we can hit this one, that you can understand, I can understand that the methods of philosophy will lead us to wisdom. Dapat! Dapat! And dapat lang i-embrace natin yun kasi kaya nga sayang eh. Di ba sabi ko sa inyo, in philosophy, in studying philosophy, this must be applied using holistic approach. Di ba? Kaya nga, ang endpoint dapat is we will gain wisdom. Okay? We will gain wisdom in studying philosophy. Okay? Second, that you can scrutinize opinions. Okay? Take note what you are going to scrutinize is opinions. Okay? Kasi pag yung factual evidences na ano pang i-scrutinize mo doon. There are empirical evidences already. So here we will scrutinize opinions. That is why we have to siguro be cautious in our day-to-day experience, especially encountering mga false statements, encountering people who are very good in speaking ability, pero yun pala, you are already that person persuaded you already to be like this and that. Kaya nga you have to be more smart in heeding on that kind of circumstance. Okay? So, fallacies, okay, as what is written in your screen, fallacies are common errors in reasoning. Ito yung madalas ng pagkakamali based on our reasoning. That will undermine the logic of your argument. So, yun yung fallacy. Minsan, alam mo yun, tactical, reasoning. Minsan, ginagamit yung mga fallacy against the person ad hominem. Diba? Fallacies can be either illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points and are often identified because they lack evidence. Di ba? From the word fallacy pa lang eh. They lack evidence that supports their claim. Okay? So those were the descriptions of fallacy. And let's try to understand this one by one. Okay? We have this what we call formal fallacy. So this is when we say formal fallacy, this is their form is wrong, rendering the argument as a noise. Okay? Nonsense. So it is a breakdown in how you say something. Yan yung formal fallacy. The ideas are somehow sequenced incorrectly. Yun yung formal fallacies. On the other side of the coin, informal fallacy denotes an error in what you are saying. This is the content of your argument. Okay? The ideas must be arranged correctly, but something you said is not quite right. That is why the content per se is wrong. Okay, the content per se is wrong. Now, let's start with this. Okay? Let's start with this. Slippery slope. So, it is a chain of causal event. Yung slippery slope. A chain of causal event will necessarily occur. And for us to avoid this, we therefore oppose the initial event or practice. This is a conclusion based on the premise that, listen makinig, that if A happens, then eventually, through a series of small steps, through B, C, D, E, F, G, and to Z, will happen too. Basically, equating A and Z, so if we don't want Z to occur, A must not be allowed to occur either. Example, life experience. Example, di ko lang alam if you know this. Yun bang experience natin, say for example, ano bang magandang experience? Sa mga government, dati, ewan ko lang ngayon sa mga government agencies. Dati let's face this, nangyayari talaga yun. Sorry sa government. Pero nangyayari talaga yun dati I have a lot of friends, ganun ang ginagawa. In terms of yung issue ng fixers, yung if you will alam mo yun, magpapaabyad ka, babayad ka lang, then the documents will come to you eventually in an easy way. Yan. Ang haba-haba ng pumila doon, pagdating mo, nagbabayad ka ng tao sa loob, kuha agad. Slippery slope. Falsification of documents. Yan. Naalala ko yung Recto University. Ang premise kasi dito can we afford a generation of weak, dependent people unsuited for the demands of this contemporary society? Yun yung magandang pagnilayan natin dito sa fallacy na to, yung slippery slope. Another fallacy, hasty generalization. Yan. This is a conclusion, okay, based on insufficient or biased evidence. In other words, you are rushing to a conclusion before you have all the relevant facts. The means of measuring evidence can change according to the kind of claim you are making. Say for example, yan, yung nasa 2 equals a number, 1 equals a number, therefore 2 is 1. Experience tayo. Dito tayo sa mga bagay na hasty generalization to pinag-usapan natin eh. Ah, mahilig kayo sa gadgets eh. Say for example, Apple computers or gadgets are more expensive than other brands. And you're concluding like that. Pag Apple, more expensive yon than other brands. Hello? Try to think of also other brand. Because there are brands pa naman na mas mahal pa kaysa Apple. Mm. Diba? Yun, hasty generalization yun. Nakita kasi natin na ganon, kaya nga yun yung experience ng tao eh. Kaya nga, demand ka agad na ganon. Naalala ko dati, pag ang tao naka-kotse, mayaman na. Hasty generalization. Hindi na-realize na kasama na pala yung sa yung daily need niya. Pag ang tao may mga credit cards, may yan. Pag ang tao ay ganito, if you have these luxurious things and that, you are already like this. If you are living in a condominium, you are like this and that. Di ba? Hindi lahat ng naninirahan doon ay yun yung hasty generalization. Now, another one. It is basically making a claim based on evidence that is just too small. Essentially, you can't make a claim and say that something is true if you have only one example or two as evidence. So yun yung sinasabi dito sa hasty generalization. Another one, post hoc ergo propter hoc. So yung Latin, after this, therefore, because of this. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore, because of this. Di ba? Informal fallacy that states, since event Y followed event X, event Y must have been caused by event X. So it is often shortened simply to post hoc fallacy. This is a conclusion that assumes that if A occurred after B, then B must have caused A. Example, I drank bottled water and now I am sick. So, the water must have made me sick. Ano yan? Post hoc ergo propter hoc yan. Hindi porket uminom ka ng tubig, yun na yung dahilan na ito, common to. Vaccine. Ayaw kong magpa-vaccine. Maraming nadidisgrasya. Post hoc ergo propter hoc yan. Yan yung best example. Another one. Makakita ka ng taba na tao. Sir Jess. Nakita. Ang general conclusion ay malakasin kumain. Hindi ba pwedeng magana lang? Oo. Pag member ka ng ganitong gang, you will be labeled with this and that. Oh, pag member ka ng ganitong group, you will be labeled like, kasi ano yan, member yan ng ganito. Oh. So, another fallacy is genetic fallacy. Basing the truth claim of an argument on the origin of its claims or premise. So, genetic yan. Wherein the conclusion is based on an argument that the origin of a person, idea, institute, or theory determine its character, nature, or worth. Yan yung, alam nyo yung yung sample dito, alam nyo yung Volkswagen Beetle. Yung sasakyan, old car, yung dati, during the time of Hitler. Yan. Volkswagen Beetle. Sabihin natin, the Volkswagen Beetle is an evil car because it was originally designed by Hitler's army. Genetic fallacy. Porke ba't ganito ang gumawa? Porke ba't, alam yun? Oh. Huwag na tayong lumayo. Porke ba't anak yun ng ganito? Ganun na agad. Porke ba't ang lahi nun ay ganito? Ganun na agad. Hello? Yan, genetic fallacy. Huwag mong tanggapin yan kasi ganito, ganyan yan. Anak yan ang ganito. Genetic fallacy. Mali yun. Okay. Ad hominem. Oh. Attacking the person making the argument rather than the argument itself when the attack on the person is completely irrelevant to the argument the person is making. Ad is to the, hominem is person. This is an attack on the character of a person rather than his or her opinions or argument. Sama, no? Inaatake mo na yung weak side ng tao, ng karakter ng tao. Hindi dahil doon sa kanyang mga sinasabi, kundi ito yung mga common term natin na grabe ang atake, below the belt na. Madalas nangyayari ito sa politiko eh. Very personal na yung atake. And there are types ng ad hominem. Yun yung abusive, yun yung atake talaga. Below the belt. Second is circumstantial. Yun bang tipong yung term nila baga na I don't know if you are familiar with the conflict of interest. Gawin mo yung isang bagay because you have this undermine, Yan. Third is to kukwe. Yung you also. Para bagang whitewash tomb. Ibang whitewash tomb, yung nagtuturo ka ng iba. Dumi mo, pinapahid mo sa iba. Nagmamalinis ka, yun. Tapos yung guilt by association na tinatawag. Dependent on the others, ideas of others. Ito yung ad hominem. Okay? Ad hominem. Next is argumentum ad populum. A fallacious argument that concludes a position, tama ba? To be true because many or most people believe it. Huh? It alleges, if many believe, so it is so. Argumentum ad populum. Ito yung dependent ka sa ideas ng iba. Oh. Para bagang bandwagon yung appeal. Yan. This is an appeal that represents what most people or a group of people think in order to persuade one to think the same way. Ha? Getting on the bandwagon is one such instance of an ad populum appeal. Sama, no? Another one, red herring. This is associated with, alam mo yung isda, yung pinapapula yung isda, yung tinatapa yung isda. Yun. Attempting to redirect the argument to another issue to which the person doing the redirecting can better respond while it is similar to the avoiding the issue fallacy. The red herring is a deliberate diversion of attention with the intention of trying to abandon the original argument. A diversionary tactic that avoids the key issue. Often by avoiding opposing arguments rather than addressing them. Example, red hair. Ito yung, may iniiwasan ka eh. Diversionary tactic. Yung iniiwasan mo na magiging ganito. Asking money for tuition. For example, asking money, you have this plan to do and you have no money. You are asking money to your parents. Ang reasoning mo ay iba. Dinadivert mo siya sa iba. Red herring. Ay, for good time purposes. Red herring. Daming example dito. Basta keywords dito sa red herring, lahat ng diversionary tactics. Basta pag dinadivert, red herring yan. Basta pag may diversionary tactics, red herring yan. Okay. Next, strawman fallacy. Substituting a person's actual position or argument with a distorted, exaggerated, or misrepresented version of the position of the argument. This kind of move, oversimplifies an opponent's viewpoint and then attacks that hollow argument. That's strawman fallacy. Yan. Example, people who don't support the proposed state minimum wage increase hate the poor. Diba? Strawman yun. Substituting a person's actual position. Analyze that. Or argument with a distorted or exaggerated. Say for example, that parking attendant who gave me a ticket is as bad as, say for example, Hitler. O, di ba? Strawman fallacy yan. Substituting a person's actual position. Yeah? Misrepresented version of the position of the argument. Strawman fallacy yan. Okay? Appeal to pity. Argumentum ad misericordia. Meron kasi akong naisip eh. This is a specific kind of appeal to emotion in which someone tries to win support for an argument or idea by exploiting his or her opponents of pity, awa, or guilt, an attempt to distract from the truth of the conclusion by the use of pity. Diba? may naisip kasi ako eh. Kausap ko yung tao. Pumunta sa isang government official, mamakaawa, drama, iyak-iyak. Yan. Maya-maya, nung binigyan na ng pera, paglabas, laki ng ngiti. Oh. Appeal to pity. Next, argument from ignorance. Argumentum ad ignorantiam. Whatever has not been proved false must be true and vice versa. Delikado to. The assumption of a conclusion that facts based primarily on lack of evidence to the contrary, usually best described by absence of evidence, is not evidence of absence. Sabi, no? Hindi. Ito na yung ina-alter na yung katotohanan talaga. Pero mo naman yun, assumption of a conclusion or fact based primarily on lack of evidence. Altering truth na yan. Ina-alter na niya yung, di ba? Ang gusto niya mangyari ay ito. Very subjective. Ideas lang na meron siya. But it wasn't proven. Yan. Argument from ignorance. Okay? Next is appeal to force. Argumentum ad baculum. An argument where force or the threat of force is given as a justification for a conclusion. Where force, coercion, or even a threat of force is used in place of reason. Grabe. In an attempt to justify a conclusion. Grabe ano? Dahas na ang gamit. Kahit hindi yan i-explain, maintindihan talaga natin yan. Why? When force, coercion, or even a threat of force is used, ginagamit na yung dahas dito in place of a reason in an attempt to justify a conclusion. Dahil ito yung gusto kong mangyari. Dahas na. Barasuhan baga. So yun yung mga examples. There are a lot of fallacies. So ito yung mga common fallacies na na-encounter ng tao. Okay, kaya nga ito yung pinipresent natin. And do you have questions? By the way, let's try to check our learning targets. Methods of philosophy will lead us to wisdom. Yes, hopefully, this understanding of since we are studying, we unveiled fallacy. I hope that you've learned something, because in understanding those fallacious arguments, false argument, you will be more aware, and this will lead you to that understanding that this must be the things that you are going to do. And those things, if you adhere that, will lead you to wisdom. And scrutinize the opinions of people. If you have questions, I will answer them in the second part of this discussion in the plenary. Thank you. Good day and God bless.